Hi everyone, it's Katie Cords from Cords Records. As you can tell by my thumbnail, I am going to be talking about a new component in my system, a new cassette deck that I've purchased, and I'm going to tell you why. And then later on in the video, I just wanted to show you a few new records that I've got, a couple of which are really interesting jazz records. So the cassette deck, I'll put some video here. It's an AKAI CS707D, which I picked up for a few $100s at a local hi-fi dealer, essentially in Sydney. Now, why did I need one? I didn't. I just felt my system wasn't complete without one. So I have, a beautiful Sansui amp. I have beautiful Canadian speakers. I've got 3 or 4 different vinyl players, but the main one I use is my vintage Philips. And then I've got a smaller system by an Australian brand called Encell, which is kind of my go-to just while I'm working. It's right next to me with little bookshelf speakers, Encell S turntable and the Brains amp. We have a Riga out in our kind of larger living room. We've got a beautiful Panasonic amp actually that powers that. So we've got a lot, but I didn't have a cassette player, and we don't have a lot of cassettes, but there is a little bit of a revival coming. And the thing that led me to it was about a year ago, it might have even been this year, I purchased the Adrian Lenker Live at Revolution Hall double cassette set. So that's it there. I don't know if you can see that. And it's now worth, $100 or so. They only made a limited edition of these. I think they're about 500. You can only hear it via digital, except for this. It's never been released on any other physical format, except for these cassette tapes. And I bought it day one. I absolutely love Adrian Lenker. And so I got it. Of course, then I thought, well, I've got to have a proper cassette deck, surely, to play it on my fantastic connoisseur tower speakers. And so that's kind of what led me to it. And I'll show you a few other exciting little bits and pieces that I've got, I've probably got maybe 20 cassettes, and I'll probably change that. I've got this Pearl Jam record store day one from 3 or 4 years ago. I haven't even opened this one, the Alive. I've got a White Stripes, Get Behind Me Satan, and I'll tell you why I've got that in a minute. But the fun cassettes I wanted to quickly show you. I've always been into music since I was a kid, and I would spend hours taping radio stations, making mixtapes. This one's from this one here is from almost 50 years ago, mid-70s. This is a mixtape called Miscellaneous from the 70s, with songs like Girls, 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 Don't Go Changing by Billy Joel, Staying Alive by the Bee Gees. So it was late 70s, 78. Heartache by Bonnie Tyler, Hilarious Freak. Some classics on here. So I've got that mixtape. I've got a 1980 mixtape here with also my diary on it. But I've got this fantastic mixtape called Groovin' Christmas Album. And this is really interesting because this was made by the Pasonics system, especially for whoever puts the name on it. And essentially what it was, you can see it looks like a professional kind of tape with proper, type on it and everything. Essentially what it is in the 80s, a company called Pasonics Custom Cassette Company created a system where you could go in and you could go to a machine and select from hundreds of songs, and each song cost between 50 cents and $1. And they would make a mixtape for you on a pretty good cassette. It was what does it say? It's Nakamichi, High Speed Transport, Dolby, let's see, it says Dolby, Sony tape, digital sound sourcing, Dolby system. I don't know if you can read that there. And in some cases, it actually sounded better than what you could get on the kind of the artist's cassette. And you'd go back in about 5 minutes time and they'd present you this full mixtape. And you can see this was my one there that I got in the 80s in New York. And the songs are things like Prince, 1999, Walking on Sunshine, Someday, Someway, Marshall Crenshaw, great song, forgotten all about that, Dixie Chicken, Little Feat, Rave On, Buddy Holly, Straight Up, Paula Abdul, Paradise by the Dashboard Light, Meatloaf, Don't Judge Me. So I got to choose all these songs and make this cassette tape. So that's quite a fun kind of find for me to have found in my archives. And so I bought this new system, but then I realized I actually have a way to play cassette tapes without that component. And I couldn't believe I'd forgotten. About a year or so ago, it might have been a bit longer, I bought the original We Are Rewind cassette deck. This is the kind of the retro company. It's made in France, out of France. They started these. This is very heavy duty. It's very heavy. It's all metal. It's absolutely stunning. And I saw it on the Budget Audiophile Instagram account like 2 years ago, I think. And I thought, that is gorgeous. I have to have that. And so I bought this one. I think it was the original. They've since come out with a bunch of other ones. And the beautiful thing about this is it's Bluetooth. So I can connect this. I can put a cassette in here and easily connect it to my bookshelf Bluetooth speakers or my Brains amp, which is connected to my speakers. And it plays seamlessly. And I did a comparison between this and my new AKAI component deck with my big tower speakers, and while the sound is a lot fuller, the actual crispness of the music is kind of like for like. So I probably didn't need to buy it. Anyway, it is what it is. So this is a really fantastic, it's not something you'd carry around a lot, I don't think. It is quite heavy. But as I said, you can play Bluetooth, you can have headphones, you can record, and it's a really, really solid mechanism. And then the other one I had was I bought the very limited edition White Stripes from Third Man Records, very plasticky. Like, I don't know if you can see that. These are super plasticky, very light. The whole thing is plasticky. It's kind of funky, like it's a terrible, terrible system. It took me ages to work out how to open it, and it's not, it just kind of opens. There we go. It's a tiny little clip on the end here. And it's all plasticky, super light. Like if you want to carry around while you're standing in line for a gig or whatever, which I see a lot of young people do now. And it came with the Get Behind Me Satan cassette tape. So that was just purely a collector's item. I put it on my shelf, just a little bit of fun. I absolutely adore the White Stripes. And I like what Third Man Records do. So that was that. So that's my kind of cassette journey for now. Let me know what you think in the comments. And actually, I'll just ask for a subscribe if you like this video, or a thumbs up, or hit the notification bell so you can see when I drop more. I've got some really fantastic videos coming up over the next few weeks, all my best of for the year, the best of the year, best, probably best compilations, best box sets, etc. So on to the records, recent records that I have been listening to, and I have really fun 2 jazz albums which I picked up for like $15. This one, The Great Jazz Piano of Phineas Newborn Jr. And I didn't really know either of these jazz artists. I certainly have nothing of them. This is an original on contemporary. It's in very good condition. It's got a flip back jacket. They're both stereo. They did both come in mono, but these are both the stereo versions. And both of the albums I'm going to show you play beautifully. So the first one, this one by Phineas Newborn Jr. I think it must have come out of a collection of obviously someone who absolutely loved jazz. Very, very good condition, not a skip on it. Sounds beautiful. It's been cleaned, well looked after. So this was a 1963 Australian press. So very happy to have picked up that. And then the other one of the same day was this Hampton Hawes trio, and both of these are obviously piano. I just love that cover. It's classic. I just love the design of old jazz covers. I'm pretty shallow when it comes to that, but I just think that's gorgeous. Like, I'd frame that. It's so beautiful. Here and Now, Hampton Hawes trio, Chuck Israels and Donald Bailey. Actually, I should tell you who plays on this one. Leroy Venegar on bass, Milt Turner on drums, Sam Jones on bass, and Louis Hayes on drums. And then on this one, as I said, Chuck Israels on bass and Donald Bailey on drums. It's just the trio on both sides. Again, on contemporary stereo. And this one was a 1966 Australian original. Same deal, just 3 years later. Beautiful, beautiful condition. So very happy to get them. And I've started, for some of these albums, I've started creating a little kind of slip, which I've made just to remind myself when I look at these, you know, what year it was, so I don't have to, you know, if there's anything interesting in the dead wax, just so I don't have to kind of remember or look it up. So I've created these little slips, which is a lot of fun. Okay, so they're the two jazz albums. Oh, and the final jazz album. This one is shocking. This one's not a great quality, but it's fun for me because it's a Pablo, original Pablo. They're not very good. A lot of them, most of them are digital recordings, and this is exactly that. They big advertisement, Sony Systems digital recording. A perfect match, Ella and Basie. So you can see Ella Fitzgerald on that side, Count Basie on the other, later career, 1980. But what was fun about this is it was red. And sometimes I just like to pick up little curios like this where you see kind of coloured vinyl from, you know, over 40 years ago. So this one was obviously 45 years old and it was on red vinyl. You don't often see a lot of coloured older jazz. Well, I don't anyway. And so I just picked that up. It was super cheap. Have played it. Sounds awful. So I'm not sure if I'll keep it, but I think I will. And now we get into some more modern era recent purchases. I can't say enough about this reissue that David Rawlings has done on his AKAI label with Gillian Welsh. It's both of them, but it's credited to Gillian Welsh, The Harrow and the Harvest, her album. But what they've done, they've re-released it. It's the first album of this version of this release that they've pressed at Paramount, which is the new pressing plant that David Rawlings has bought into and owns, and he's got a beautiful setup there. And he even released a reel of this. I think like a limited edition of 50, like nearly $1,000 or something. But this is absolutely beautiful. I would, if you like these two, I would urge you to get this on the AKAI label. It's the most recent one, pressed at Paramount. Absolutely beautiful. Okay, another kind of folky album. This is the latest album from Madison Cunningham called Ace. This is, if you know Madison Cunningham, she won Best Folk Album a couple of years ago at the Grammys. Beautiful folk singer, mainly guitarist. But on this that she's gone into is this beautiful kind of jazzy piano. And she has never sounded more like Joni Mitchell, but not an imitation. She is like a modern day Joni Mitchell. Her phrasing is it's all over the place, but on purpose. It's absolutely beautiful. The music, the lyrics, it's really quite a stunning album. And if you like Madison Cunningham, you'll not be disappointed with this. I wouldn't be surprised if it's up for Grammys next year. Okay, and then another one, I've got two more. I ended up picking up this duet special by Chrissie Hynde because it just sounded like a bit of fun, and it is absolutely brilliant. This is she released it a couple of months ago, and it's all duets of old school tunes, and she's just handpicked people she clearly wants to sing with. You've got everyone from Katie Lang singing the most beautiful version of Me and Mrs. Jones, Cat Power, Julian Lennon, Alan Sparhawk, Shirley Manson. Like, it's just incredible. Debbie Harry, Rufus Wainwright sings Always on My Mind. Lucinda Williams sings Sway. So just a really quite a special, very old school album. It's very lo-fi in a way. And then finally, the latest of Monsters and Men album. Sorry, I don't know, hopefully that I've left the shrink on this one. It's actually a gatefold, so I haven't properly opened it. It's on Apricot, and I think they released it on a few colours. And we didn't purposely get the apricot, it's just how it came. Love Monsters and Men. One of our greatest concert experiences was at a Monsters and Men mosh pit. However, I'm still to fall in love with this album. It's very of Monsters and Men if you like them. If you like their it's very happy pop. It's very kind of happy, moving, rhythmic pop, and mostly for female forward vocals, although they're a group and they share vocals. However, it's a hit and miss album for me so far. There's a couple of absolutely stunning songs on here. One is Fruit Bat, which goes for 8 minutes on the end of side 2. It's a double album, which is a lot lower, kind of very slow paced, almost ballad like. And actually the slower songs are the ones that work on here. So it's their first album in quite a few years. I'm not convinced about it yet, but let me know what you think if you've got this one. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Okay, that's it. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.